Welcome to Thundering Legion, a podcast by and for Armed Forces members covering apologetics, interviews, and news and events from a Christian perspective. Our mission is to advance the gospel to Armed Forces members of all nations and build Christian community for the purpose of mutual encouragement and accountability. Now for today's show.
Welcome to another edition of Thundering Legion's Current Events. Here are some of the stories with moral implications. On February 16th, Undersecretary of Defense Gilbert R. Cisneros released a memo titled Changes to Command Notification of Pregnancy Policy. In the 4-page attachment, he outlined directives for commanders, supporting military members, and their dependents traveling out of state for abortion, and what is referred to as, quote, reproductive care. In this memo, Cisneros states that this policy provides service members the time and flexibility to make private health care decisions in a manner that is consistent with the responsibility of commanders to meet operational requirements and protect the health and safety of those in their care. This memorandum marks a dramatic shift in the Department of Defense outlook on abortion. Since the landmark decision of Roe v. Wade in 1973, the DoD has remained essentially neutral on the topic of abortion, but will now offer up to 3 weeks of uncharged administrative leave to seek an abortion, as well as allowances for travel and transportation expenses incurred while traveling for abortion care. Although we as believers know that the Bible does not explicitly reference the act of abortion, it is made clear through numerous verses that God's stance on abortion is in strong opposition. The Bible states in Jeremiah 1:5, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." And in Psalm 139:13-16, "For you formed my inward parts, you knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, my soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you. When I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when, as yet, there were none of them." In other destructive news, an ex-soldier, neo-Nazi, and Satanist was sentenced to 45 years in prison for his plot to ambush and kill fellow soldiers. Former Private Ethan Phelan Meltzer pleaded guilty last June to charges of attempting to murder U.S. service members, providing and attempting to provide material support to terrorists, and illegally transmitting national defense information, all in relation to an Army unit's upcoming deployment. Meltzer admitted to sharing the sensitive information with the Order of the Nine Angels, a satanic occultist group based in the United Kingdom. The Order of the Nine Angels, or ONA for short, has a stated goal of using anarchy to upend Western civilization, breeding a laundry list of terrorism plots and actions, resulting in multiple organized murders and sexual assaults in several countries. Pivoting to the U.S. military academies, a recent discussion on cadet and midshipman parents is likely to lead to policy change. Throughout their long history, all 3 major military academies have held a position that did not allow those enrolled to have children or dependents. If cadets either intentionally or unintentionally parented a child, their options were less than ideal. Under our current system, cadets who become pregnant must either sign away the rights of their child, get an abortion, pay devastating financial responsibilities, or leave the academy altogether, Senator Ted Cruz, Republican from Texas, said in a statement at the time. He then added, "This policy is unfair, antiquated, and unacceptable." That's set to change soon, though, as the Defense Department spokesman told the Military Times on March 6th. Allegedly, the Pentagon intends to roll out a plan to allow cadets and midshipmen to retain their parental rights throughout their military academy time. According to Dean Miller, an Air Force Academy spokesman, "Understanding the intent of Congress, we work with the Air Force Department and DoD to implement a process in which cadets with natural-born children could remain at USAFA as long as they had an approved family care plan. The details of the family care plan include who will care for the child financially and physically while the cadet remains enrolled at the academy. No matter the situation surrounding the birth of a child, that life is an image of God Himself, and a blessing to be thankful for. Additionally, as parents, we are obligated, no matter our situation, to embody our roles in the upbringing and teaching of our children." 1 Timothy 5:8 says, "But if anyone does not provide for their relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever." In Myanmar, at least 28 people were killed in a monastery when the National Army entered Nan Nait village on Saturday. In a video from the Karenni Nationalities Defense Force, or KNDF, over 21 bodies were shown piled against the town's monastery, including both civilians and Buddhist monks, identifiable by their traditional orange robes. Since the coup d'etat on February 1st, 2021, which overthrew the democratically elected government in favor of a military junta, hostilities have resulted in over 2,900 total casualties, according to the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners. The situation has continued to spiral into a near civil war, and the military crackdown continues. The timing of this massacre is especially ominous. Just 2 days prior marked 55 years since the My Lai massacre, the mass murder of South Vietnamese civilians by the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War. Around 400 civilians were brutally murdered, sparking global outrage and leaving a lasting blemish on the U.S. military's history. Despite widespread participation from multiple infantry units, only one soldier was actually charged, Lieutenant William Cowley Jr. His sentence was commuted, and he served just 3.5 years on house arrest. Those are today's stories with moral implications. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Thundering Legion podcast.
Thanks for listening to Thundering Legion. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a rating and review. Please share this episode with another Armed Forces member who needs encouragement in their faith. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode.